Welcome to Street Smart Spirituality with your hosts, Barry and Cole, where each week we will be discussing diverse topics of spirituality, including the right use of will, A Course of Love, A Course in Miracles, The Way of Mastery, and much more. Join us on a global spiritual adventure with Cole in Australia and Barry in the U.S. All right, everybody, welcome to episode 9 of Street Smart Spirituality. I am Barry here in the U.S., my partner in crime, Cole, down in Byron Bay, Australia. Cole, say hello.
Hello, Barry. Doing this again.
Yeah, we're hard guys to put down. This episode, we discussed you wanted to share a little bit more on your concepts of masculine consciousness. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's necessary to address.
Definitely. So why don't you take it from here?
Okay. So, masculine consciousness. So for a long time, I was doing this work that had a lot to do with feelings, and I was so all over the place that I really couldn't even locate myself. Until I realized that I'm lacking something. I'm lacking a presence that holds all of this together. And so I went exploring for years and years. I explored the masculine consciousness. And when I was younger, I used to listen to Anthony Robbins quite a lot. And he says, you want to get good at something, go and hang out with the guys who are good at something. And I thought, I'm going to find some real men, to hang out with some real men. And so I started looking and looking and looking, and I wasn't finding any. And I was quite shocked, and my guys from my men's group sent me to a building site. Says, why don't you go and work with builders? There is enough masculine presence. So, and then we want you to go to a pub, and drink a beer and sit around with just the guys, who sit in a pub after 5 o'clock, So I did all that, and I wore these boots. But I was kind of like the softish guys because I was always doing the feeling work, and it was like feeling everything, and I was feeling the whole town. Feeling people's pain and feeling the suffering, and I came home and I brought it all with me, and then I just collapsed under the sort of pressure of it all, and seriously said, I need to find a container. And from everything that I've studied, I realized there's something about this that I need to be held with my own consciousness, with my own presence. And so I'm beginning to look for this masculine, deep masculine presence. And for a long time, I really could not find, like the example lives. There were some guys who were very masculine, but there was no heart in there, or there was a lot of heart, but then there was lacking masculinity. And the guys smoking and dancing in forest, the whole New Age gang, and then one day, a friend of mine said, "Hey, come and have a look at this dude. You need to come and listen to him." And I said, "Okay." And I walk in, and there is this dude sitting on a chair, and his feet are on his ground, and I'm going like, "Okay, that's him." And my God, the guy showed me something else that I did not know existed before. So it was, in a sense, a bit of a like a transference of something that I saw an example live of what is a man that's really deeply present with himself. He was simply not separating anything in himself. He was the man who knew his heart, and he knew his mission, he knew where he was going, and nothing was stopping him exactly what he was on about. And I took that on. I said, okay, this is This is the example life I want to follow. And I also began to run men's groups at that time because I really wanted to find out what does it mean to be a real man. Yeah, where do I, what does a real man look like? How does he feel? How does he breathe? How does he talk? How does he express? How is he with his community? How is he with his woman? And with his kids? And so it was an incredible exploration full of prayer and asking, being shown, and very grateful to all the men in my men's group because we were getting a lot of feedback. It wasn't criticism, it was just like genuine feedback. Hey man, this is what you feel like. This is what you feel like to me. This is what you represent. This is how we see you. And so that was some invaluable information and help. But most of all, it came down to me having it on with God. Where was that prayer? God, what does it really mean to be a man? And so I had all these different inputs from here and there, but eventually it was like an inner awakening that if I would describe it in any way, it had a lot to do actually with my own inner feminine. Ooh, that gets me teary even just thinking about it. Because what happened as I was exploring these feelings, when this new masculine consciousness began to be more and more alert and awake in me, I began to have a different presence to my own feelings, to my own inner feminine, and because I was working so much on acceptance of feelings and expression of feeling, the way the feeling wanted to express itself, I was somehow clearing this muddy pool that seemed to be down below. It's like below my belly. It was just like this unseen, sort of like a muddy pond of just gunk. And as I was sifting through it and looking at what's in there and begin to clear it, one day I had this almost like a miraculous experience. It's definitely miraculous, where this pond has cleared up, and at the bottom of that pond I found this golden mirror. And I know this sounds a bit dodgy, but it was like an inner vision of something that reflects. And this was the inner feminine that got to a place where it pointed me to my real self, my real masculine. And it's virtually or similar to that Kali energy where it basically cut off my old head. Like when that reflection showed me who I am, it's all my old head, my old thinking, my old habits just fell away, and I was shown something completely different. And that was like a form of awakening that actually never disappeared. It's always there. There's this presence in me that comes when the right time. When I walk in a men's group, there it is, gentlemen. And it was like there is this some kind of like an inner authority that takes over. When I'm with my woman, same thing happens. We're together, and then suddenly this presence comes in, and then she goes, oh. And that is just so exquisitely beautiful. And from then on, everything is guided from this place. And that leads us to, to greater union. So that was kind of like description of what happened to me with all this. Any ideas there, Barry?
No, I think I brought this up in one of our earlier podcasts. You mentioned the gold pond underneath your feet, and that was a lot of people listening to the podcast are familiar with Neville Goddard. That was exactly what happened to his experience when he reawoke. He was split down the middle, and at the bottom of his feet was a pond of golden liquid. So your experiencing is just mirroring, what people go through for their spiritual experience. But that was, that was interesting.
Yes, and so what does it really mean to be present? Because we could be full of spiritual concepts and full of spiritual lines, and God is this and God is that, but is it fully embodied? Is it really felt in every cell? Like I like using that idea of Christmas. Like we have a Christmas tree, with a tree of life. It's really our body. It's got a star. It's got this clear mind on the top. It's got this lit up tree. It's either lit up or it's not, right? It can look pretty and it could be well dressed, but it could be nothing in there. There's no light. But also that tree, has these ideas of, presence, and that's where are the presents? They are under the tree, and so it's all below us. And it's interesting because you mentioned this about Neville, that he had that experience, and I've already kind of forgotten about it, and that was just the initial experience of it. There was another one after that, and this one was like a mirror, and the second one was more like a golden liquid that it's like standing in this dry well, and dried well for centuries, for a long time, searching out, looking out, until one looks within and finds it there. And then this liquid gold began to, almost like the body was so dry. It was just like, it's truly that metaphor of finding this, and we can reduce it to just that inner masculine presence. Is beyond description, but it is a whole, like an inner awakening, because we are more than what we think, and we are more than the concepts and ideas we have about ourselves. And then when we start seeing that in ourselves, we begin to see it in others. And like Jesus says in the Course of Miracles, he saw the face of Christ in every man. He remembered God, and really, unless we see the divine in the others. But most of all, what I like to address here is, as well, we're talking about masculine consciousness, we also need to bring up this idea of the reflection and the idea of the feminine, which is the true response to the masculine. And I think what's really lacking in our society at this point is this true feminine response. It's like our inner responses we get, but how about in a relationship? Like sometimes I listen to people or my clients, saying like, God, if she could just get what I'm on about, it would be great. Or she says, God, he just can't get me. And because they both in their little world, and she is not totally honest with him, and he is not totally honest with her. And to go into this deep, true response, that we begin to really speak this radical truth about what's really going on for us, by ourselves and with others. Like, how is it in there really? And so when I started doing this men's group, I also started to run things like mixed practices where men and women would get together. But I also used to do a lot of sitting with men and women as well. And one of my basic practices was always to establish, do we feel safe? And it was incredible to find out what it really means for a man to come to a place in himself where a woman actually begins to feel totally safe with him, where she is actually capable of saying everything that's going on in her as a reflection to where he is coming from, and vice versa. But I found towards the end that it was only when a man would come into the more real place in himself, woman would immediately begin to reflect it, and hence is this reflection. And here is this call to all of the feminine out there saying, hey, our real awakening will come when we all begin to reflect to each other our true essence. And I live in this small town. Actually, I'm close to Byron Bay in this place called near Mullumbimby, and so we have this little community here. And a lot of women know I run men's groups, and they go, Cole, hey, where are all those men? And I says, no, darling, where are all the women? And I think there's like a stalemate between masculine and feminine out there. The men are waiting for this open women, and women are waiting for this, where are all the present men? But it almost seems like no one's really starting. So it's like a stalemate kind of situation. We're just waiting for each other. And I think this is my call here, is to say, let's bring it on. Let's start this incredible new way of being together. Now we know all the spiritual concepts. We all know God is, and we all one. But how about we begin to live it? And how about we begin to get these reflections and really begin to open, men learn how to truly incarnate themselves as who they truly are, and as they were created with all the gifts, and begin to give them. And same for the feminine, to begin to respond to this shift. And if the shift is not happening, then there needs to be a call. There has to be a response. So it's a big one. And I think this is where the new of creation is, at least on earth, is where we need to go. Where is our next, what's next? Now that we know the courses and we've done them, and we know people who do courses, all sorts of spiritual retreats and everything for 20, 30, 40 years. But we still have this masculine and feminine imbalance, not only in ourselves, or not only outside of ourselves, but particularly within. And so it's very important that man begins to look, where is this divine woman, this divine feminine in me? But it can't be just an imagery. You can't just imagine this in a woman. Imagine in a woman it's ridiculous. She needs to call out to him, but he needs to begin to call out to her, saying, hey, I'm ready now. Where are you? Where the fuck are you? I said I'm not going to be swearing, but it's just like you can't not use that word, because it's got that, where is it? Let's bring it on. And also for women to have their own inner masculine begin to, the inner prince of light. There's within each woman is this, it's now replaced by the mind and by all the talking. But really, it's still a dormant energy, the star, the awakener. Because until she has that fully awakened, her inner presence, her inner feminine, is just not opening fully, because it would not feel safe with a mind cluttered by magazines and insecurities and needing to look good or be different than one is. You know, like a Facebook is an amazing representation of this. You can see it now. You know, people put their best photos, and you know, and you meet them on the street and go like, "Oh, is that you?" It's like, you know. So that we take off the makeup and we take off the thing and we just get real with each other. So like, how is it really? How is it to be me? How do I feel to you? You know. And but it has to happen first within the self. But if it doesn't, the outside reflection can enormously help this. So,
and I think we had a question come in this week that's pretty relevant to what you were talking about. Do you want to address that now or later?
Okay, all right. Well, we were asking people if they had any questions, and there was not many questions. So, like, who do you think you are? Did you have some kind of answers? And we're really not playing some kind of, you know, if we throw in a question and just talk about it from different perspectives, sometimes it gets answered. And this was a good one. It was on that Got Questions little post that you put out. And it came from Buttercup. And I said I would answer it. So here it is. It says, I try to bring or create peace and love everywhere I go, in every situation I'm in. And it works majority of time, but the world has gone mad and it affects me tremendously. It's wearing me down. How can I stay sane and avoid feeling the pain of the world? Now, I think this is a brilliant question. And if there was only one question, this is a very, very good question. And so it's right there. How can I stay sane and avoid the feeling? And I think if you keep avoiding the feeling, that will manifest this insane world. Because everything that we reject in ourselves, the feeling will project out and magnetize to ourselves. And so we have this belief that the world's coming at us, but the world is actually coming from us. You know, all of the karma is essentially with us. You know, I'm carrying all there is, and wherever I go, there I project my own self. So really, it's the other way around. We got to use the world to show us how we feel, and then begin to feel, heal our feelings. You know, feel them and heal them. Because it's not even, often there is this sort of like an idea that we need to deal with the feelings. How do I deal with emotions, and how do I deal? That in itself is already a wrong approach. Dealing. The emotions and feelings, they don't want to be dealt with. They're just reflecting our minds. And so the mind wants to deal with them. But what the mind doesn't see, that is its own shadow. This is the blind spot. This is the real awakening. Is saying like, hang on. The feeling is reflective and reflects to us what the mind is doing. So the mind decided to get rid of feeling and created these so-called false feelings, right? Which is more like the emotional states. When someone get emotional, it really don't make much sense, not to the others, but even to themselves. Because they're really not in touch with their true feelings. And I can't stress this enough. It's like, if I ask you how you're feeling, the first few things that come up have got nothing to do with reality. They are of your own making, and actually it doesn't even exist. It's just a smoke screen, you know. So one has to learn how to get in touch. How am I really feeling about this situation in the world? You know, I did it with Trump, by the way. This is going to be interesting because, you know, when Trump came on, I went like, I remember my son, 8-year-old, was sitting here and I said, hey, you know what happened? He goes, what? He goes, I go, well, Trump is a president. And my son went into this 8-year-old, he's sitting there, goes into this deep contemplation. And then he said, can I say that word? And I said, go ahead. And he goes, fuck. This is my 8-year-old's response, right? And, Jesus. And so from then on, you know, Trump was on my feed, on my Facebook, on my YouTube, you know, wherever I went, Trump. And I'm not that big on politics because it doesn't really make sense to me so much what's going on. But suddenly this Trump was in my field, right? And so instead of bitching about it and joining the crusade, I went like, hang on a second, what did manifest in my world this kind of character, you know, that seems to be so, you know, controversial and so, you know, loved by some and really despised by others. And where is this Trump in me? Where is that quality in me? And obviously, first few feelings that came up had nothing to do with it. Actually, it took 3 days until I got in touch with that real feeling. It wasn't a very nice feeling in myself. And by then, Trump is no longer important because now I've got that real feeling that I have disowned in myself. And it is this own feeling that manifests this crazy world that we are looking at. You know, the Course of Miracles says it beautifully. The world you see has nothing to do with reality. It is of your own making and it does not exist. However, it only doesn't exist because we are projecting it out there. So the world you see is illusion because the mind itself is illusion. And so it's projecting this world as an illusion. We keep talking like a world is an illusion. No. Your mind is an illusion that is projecting this world we see. Yeah. So again, how can I stay sane and avoid feeling the pain of the world? My answer to that is, you know, find the feelings. Don't avoid them for sure. Because that's what avoidance of feeling does. It projects reality you see. So instead of avoiding feeling, embrace the feeling. Decide that you want to join with the part of you. It's part of you. It's not like somebody else. You know, those feelings are your feelings, and those feelings are reflecting your own mind. They're not even reflecting the world. They're reflecting your own mind. So this is actually the bottom line of my whole, if I have any teaching, and I really don't put myself as a teacher out there, and I wouldn't be talking here at all if Barry didn't say, hey, let's do some podcasts. I don't have that kind of like a mission in life. Unless someone asked me to do something, then I would do it. I still have my own practice, and this is it. That's all I do. I look around, and I have to say my reality has changed enormously because I've changed my inner condition. So, do you think that was clearly answered?
Yeah, let me add something to the Buttercup from a metaphysical standpoint.
Great.
she made it sound like she walked into a situation and it was her job to be a cooler, which basically means that you try and normalize the situation in there, and that's not really your job. You can't change other people's perceptions. What you do is you find the vibration, you find the harmony within your own heart that you're comfortable with living, and you focus on your heart. And when you go into a situation like that, you don't do anything active. Your vibration and your actual presentation there will cool the environment. So you're not doing anything active, and you sound very intuitive and very empathic. And a lot of the problems with a lot of the empaths, they can't rein in their emotions, so they see somebody over there that's in pain and they attach to it and they draw it to themselves, and they see somebody else that's frustrated and they draw that frustration to themselves. So it's not your job to solve the problems of the world. It's your job to find the resonance within your own heart and stay focused within yourself. And by that very virtue, as you walk into a situation that's vacillating, you will be able to calm that situation by your very presence. So it's pretty much what Cole said, but from a little different angle.
Sure. Yeah, it's a very good subject, this whole empathy, sort of like, we the problem is that when we have a bad relationship to our feelings, we're going through town, we feel the pain of others, but instead of letting it run through us, it's like, oh, there is pain over there, whoosh, and release it. We go, oh God, this pain, boom, we push against it. And that pushing against it is what nails it to the floor. And that really is the crucifixion, because you're basically nailing those feelings to the cross. And then you call them something, You call them, you put a label on them, you judge them as, oh, it's this, and this is this, and this is what's happening. And by that is actually your ego rushes in to establish its impotence. I keep saying, establish its weakness and its control. And so we need to learn how to, instead of crucify, how to resurrect. Okay? So if I'm feeling a feeling and I don't oppose it, what happens to the feeling? The feeling begins to naturally rise. That's what feelings do. They just want to come up. And what do? We push them down. So, that's where the change in attitude is necessary. So we begin to see a situation, feel the feeling, allowing the feeling to arise. It's going to make us feel bad. Sometimes people throw up, they go like, God, that makes me really sick. But that's the reflection that is needed for the others to see. I was talking about, feminine reflection. This is what the reflection, the world and the woman are one. Yeah, the Mother Earth, right? Anything that moves is the feminine. Anything that's solid and unmoving is the masculine, right? So if this is arising and I just let it through, it basically becomes the Kundalini energy. It becomes the flow of life, and it's an awakener. It's an energy that blesses the mind and awakens it. For so long I was going like, why do we have males and females? Why do we have this? Because there's a giver and there is a receiver, and so we give to each other, well, we don't take back what we give. We don't pay attention to the reflection, and until we do, we're going to walk around blind, basically. And again, there could be a question like, oh my God, if I begin to reflect to all the men what they feel like to me, it's not going to be a pretty sight. It's true. I was hanging out with this wonderful teacher called David Deida, and he was teaching us how to actually, embody masculine consciousness, and how to actually sit or stand in a way where the best kind of allows you to incarnate of who you truly are, how to use your physicality, how to get your head straight and your body straight and your chest open and your front relaxed and your breath eased off, and your whole consciousness just sits in this really, really effortless, relaxed state where creation can begin. It's like you have to prepare the altar for things to manifest. And if you're just sitting there with your chin forward and collapsed neck and, whole back kind of twisted and, one foot too much to the right or to the left, and this unevenness, you're like not really oozing much of a masculine presence. So a lot of it was about training us to really embody, and it was really quite amazing to walk through town. And I didn't have any mission at that time in my life that was very clear to me. So I used to have like, okay, my mission right now is to go to the post office, and that's all I'm doing in this moment. And I would just walk, and I would be really embodied in myself. I would really work, and I could see the reflections out there. Suddenly there would be this look people would give me. It was like, oh, there's somebody walking in that body. That body is not just an empty shell. And more I learned how to do this, more I began to feel it in myself, what it is when that masculine presence, that incredible stillness, when it comes in. And, particularly lately with my partner, she just absolutely loves when I fall into this place of this stillness. I just do nothing. I just am. I am that. That's that. I am that, and it's just is. It comes. That's the second coming. It just comes.
Keep it clean.
It's very clean. This is very clean. It's a second coming. It's got nothing to do with. This is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like it's much greater than any sexual experience can describe, because it brings up this a full body orgasmicness self. That's the tree is lit up. The tree is it's vibrating with vibrancy. The inner sanctum is enlightened. That is the light. And to be able to actually hold this light for long periods of time, it's not an easy thing. And one has to learn and practice how to remain there for long periods of time before the ego rushes in again and try to establish its nothingness, really. So it is like this kind of competition between the two, the God and the ego, really. And just try this, most natural inheritance we got from God is, let's say, joy, like this inner vibrant joy that as soon as I say it, I can feel like my tree comes on even more, and it just is on. And still on, and it's still on, and here I am turning it all on, and I can feel it vibrating my feet, vibrating my legs, and it kind of begins to live, begins to be alive. And then the words begin to subside, and thinking goes away, and it's just presence. It's just this nothingness that's so full and so complete and so just basically leaves me speechless. But there's a aliveness. There's an inner aliveness that's, yeah, beyond description.
Well, Buttercup, I hope we did something to give you a little bit of an answer on that one. But was there any more questions, or was that it for this week?
I think that was the only question we got. Maybe there was some other ones, but I didn't see them, and we didn't get any. So we decided not to do the Q&A. We decided to do the masculine and masculine presence and the feminine openness, or feminine radiance, or masculine feminine within and without as well.
Is David Data? He's still alive, right?
Yes.
Is he Australian?
No, he's an American.
Oh, okay. I just wondered if maybe, I mean, you really love that material. I just wondered if maybe we could do an episode on that one week. Is that something you'd want to get into, or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Been working with this for 20 years now, and what I found about this, for example, you can read David's books, and they're brilliant. He's an amazing writer. He writes differently for men than for women. He wrote two main works, one for men, which is called The Way of a Superior Man, and Dear Lover, which is for like a manual for women to help them to relax back into their natural radiance, and book for men that deal with the masculine aspects and what it takes to be really an awakened man, not just a man. I don't know if we can't read. Can we read from his book? I think they're pretty tight as well about what they're putting out.
I think you could probably read a chapter, or I'm not a chapter. You could probably read a paragraph for a couple of sentences, just as, yeah. But some of these guys are kind of tight ass.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
If they spirit us, we'll just put this down or something. He says, this book is a guide for a specific kind of a newly evolving man. This man is unabashedly masculine. He's purposeful, confident, direct, live his chosen way of life with deep integrity and humor. That's definitely one of the very important aspects of it all. And he is sensitive, spontaneous, spiritually alive, with a heart commitment to discovering and living his deepest truth. This kind of man is totally turned on by the feminine. He loves to take his woman sexually, to ravish her, but not in some old-style macho fashion. Rather, he wants to ravish her with so much love. She is vanished. They both vanish in the fullness of loving itself. That's pretty good so far, hey? And
you had me at ravish.
Like, I just read that and I'm like, I'm totally. But this is what it is to be like. There's a definition, I said turn on, and you say like, okay, tone it down. No, I'm fully turned on, but it's got nothing to do, like he says, with the old style macho fashion. Like, his turn on-ness is in his full body. Like you can imagine that the real erection for a man is his body. Yeah? When he is fully in there. Like if you look at even the statues or the paintings of Shiva, yeah? He's like this blue sort of being that's just oozes peace, strength, all of those qualities above mentioned. And he is just an example life to what we all could be. Same as Jesus was. If you want to have a big open heart, who do you follow? Jesus. You want to be kind? Get yourself incarnated into Buddha, You want to be an evil guy? Let yourself incarnate yourself as Hitler, This is the most incredible thing when I do this in my men's group. We have these men practicing facing each other, practicing presence, and I go, hey, if you were Shiva, how would you be standing? And you can see the whole room adjusts to a certain stance that is very erect, very present, very aligned, very open-chested, and relaxed. There's no effort in it. When I say, if you were a Buddha, how would you be breathing? And you can just see that the whole room changes into this more like a compassionate state. There are definitely distinct qualities between the two. It's like if you were Jesus, what would you be thinking if you were Jesus right now? And then if you ask that question, ask and you receive. What should be happening? All of your chakras should be going, and you find yourself in a state of pure heart presence. Bingo, right? Interesting thing, once I was doing this and I said and if you were Hitler, how would you be standing? And it's interesting how the light in people's faces would actually lit up. Very interesting, because this is a quality that we don't want to express because we think that was evil. So we deny our evil and our sort of not, our lovelessness and our heartlessness. And we don't show that. We keep that away. So a person who wants to be fully embodied needs to be able to also feel, rage and not hurt anybody, feel their own hate, I think hate is a very important energy in our lives. I can tell you an incredible example when I allow myself to express. I felt hate. I just allow myself to feel it more. And I begin to address everything that I hated in my life. And then maybe took an hour. I had nothing else to say. And then from that same place that hate was coming from came the most exquisite love like I've never experienced in my life. So it's very important to learn how to express rage and hate and all these negative so-called feelings and expressions without hurting anybody. See, if I express hate, I'm not hating anybody. I'm just allowing the feeling of hate to be free. And that's my energy. It's all-encompassing energy. People trying to get rid of hate and trying to get rid of anger and trying to get rid of emotions are basically just getting rid of themselves, and they're fragmenting out part of themselves that they judged in themselves as not good. But let me ask a question. There's a child trafficking out there. If everything is love, right? So do you love it or you hate it? There's a child abuse. Do you love it or do you hate it? There is evil going on in many parts of the world. There are awful things going on. Do you love it or do you hate it? So you can't love something like that. So what do you do with that? You got to express that you go, God, I hate that something like this is happening. And one should be able to allow these negative feelings to flow through them. Otherwise, there's only half of you that functions, which is the positive. And your negative, which is your magnetic, gets rejected. And so I think I've gone off somewhere else. As I do. But those are very important subjects, I can have all of these negative emotions arise and they're exquisite. Why? Because I don't have any spears going against them. I go ooh, I'm feeling this. I can feel weak. I can feel inadequate. I can have, the other day we were with my friends, we were looking at some really the more negative feelings like apathy And I was doing the apathy. I was like, let's feel apathy. And they go, how is it called? I was like, God, I don't know why I'm feeling so good right now. You know, it's like I'm feeling apathy and I'm feeling good, right? Because what? I'm not opposing that feeling. I'm allowing that feeling to be what it is, apathy. So it is with this whole negative thing. We're all trying to be positive, and we all are high vibration or low vibration. You know, I find way more excitement in lower vibration than a higher vibration. So it's an individual thing, and huge subject. So maybe we can take up, David Deida work, because I tell you one thing. Reading his books was amazing because he's an amazing writer, but actually him taking me through these exercises and, putting me in front of the woman and ask a question, I asked the woman, how present do I feel right now? She goes, yeah, so out of 10, right? She goes, 3. I was like, what? And I was like, yeah, what's the first thing I need to do to be more than that? And then she goes, like, you're somehow not really breathing into your body. It's like, you need to take a deeper breath. Like, you mean like this? I take this breath all the way to my feet, and she goes, 9. It's like, wow. So all that just shifted perfectly in an instant. It's like a quantum. And I say, okay, I'm sold. This is my next thing. And so I've been doing these workshops, and when we learn all the techniques from David Deida, actually how to do them practically. And so that's what I do in my men's groups, and that's what I do in the mixed practices, is getting people together and get his stuff practiced. Because without doing it, it's just the theoretical foundation. But without the actual having somebody in front of you giving you a real honest feedback, how you feel to them, you are just imagining what's going on.
Some of your men's groups run up to a year, right? Don't you have some of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. That must be some phenomenal breakthroughs after that long.
Yeah, I have men who are like, 60 something, 65, and he sits there, and the last day of a thing, we just all sit there and share what was the deepest thing that happened. And he goes, I'm 65, and finally understand what it really means to be present. And feeling the grief of not living his life that way. Same for me, like I was 44 when for the first time I began to start to see, like, oh my God, I was nowhere. I was just living in my head, trying to fulfill some kind of crazy dreams. But I had no idea what it means to be present. Even that word present was just like an idea in my head. So yeah, those are profound. They are actually also based on whole David Deida work. We used the book, The Way of a Superior Man, and we used the first 15 chapters. 15 or 16, let me have a look. Just the first 15 chapters, and we take each chapter and run it for 2 weeks. So men will have some exercises. They go home and they come with their homework. And first we do usually a 2-hour session. Everybody comes on time. There are some really tough kind of guidelines how we're doing this. Like, you come on time, you come ready, you sit for the full 2 hours, fully erect, fully present. And first hour are usually practices, masculine practices. And the second part is all about following the homework and doing these chapters, these 15 chapters. So it takes about a year with the long weekends and all that kind of stuff. It takes about a year. And usually at the end of it, they go, how can we just like continue doing this? So sometimes they take 1.5 years. We make up some extra stuff. And but best it works for me just going from the beginning to the end, doing these 15 chapters. Very powerful, very transformative. But I have to say, I've done this now many times, and every time I open David's books or listen to his latest recordings, there's just this refinement he has. It's just exquisite. He says things and I go, wow, oh God, I never saw it like this. So yeah, guys, definitely he's been around for, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 years, but he's ahead of his time, I think. And 20 years later, I think I'm just grasping some of it. So definitely recommend it for any man who wants to truly go deep. This is the way I've looked up lots of book for men and how to deepen their presence, and I really have to say this is so far for me. This is the creme de la creme, this is amazing.
Hey, and if you're ever down in Byron Bay, bring your lunchbox and visit one of Cole's sessions, or just move down there for a year. What the hell? You got plenty of chairs?
Well, I live on a community, and we actually have this beautiful hall here, very beautiful, just state-of-art hall for workshops, and so I actually virtually walk across the paddock, and I'm in the hall, so I've got it all around the corner here.
Wow, excellent.
And we only do about 15 men at a time, and last year I decided to try something else, and I was doing something called a recharge for men. And so anybody could come in. With these other groups, you commit and you can't get out. Once you say you're in, you have to be in for 4 months. And after 4 months, you have usually a review if this is for you. And hardly ever happens that we lose anybody. And then after 4 months, there is a definite commitment again until the end of the year. So yeah, it's kind of radical. But last year I opened up, just people come in and just doing masculine practices, and we're looking deeper into this realm of feelings, because that's my ultimate passion. And then the COVID came, and we decided that it's not good to stand in front of each other doing these practices, because you kind of face the man quite close. You look him in the left eye and you don't move. And that's the masculine bliss. It's like complete emptiness. So we go into this state of absolute nothingness, which is like so fulfilling that any feminine would say, like, how can you do something so boring? But it is the masculine bliss, is basically nothing. Nothing going on is good.
Do you want to share any closing thoughts? We're coming up to the top of the hour now. You did some nice coverage. You want to end it with anything?
Yeah, I guess I would, challenge all the men out there to step up and begin to discover. And I'm sure many have. It's not that, but to keep encouraging. Like I constantly drag men and challenge men into deeper states of presence and deeper states of consciousness, and also to invite all the women and ask them to begin to feel more and share their true feelings, not just reactions and not just judgments, but actually go past those and and begin to reflect, how does the masculine actually feel? And this is a very scary place to go into, particularly for women, because there is a lot of imprinting in the feminine that any reflection will there's a fear of rejection or non-acceptance of that reflection. But we're not moving anywhere unless this begins. And I think the whole spirituality has to go to that place where we begin to reflect to each other. How does it really feel? Like really, really feel. I had it for a while with my partner. She could be quite judgmental on me, at some point at the beginning. And at some point I say, listen, well, how does it make you feel that I'm this way? And don't tell me about it. Show me the feeling. Show me the money. Show me the feeling. What it feels like that I do what I do. Because when a woman shows a feeling to a man, this is a profound thing that I really still like to maybe close with, is that I think women think that they need to give the man the information. And that's not what it's about. We already have so much information in our mind. I mean, we are mind. We are thinkers, right? And for us, the bliss is no thought. The masculine bliss, no thought. There's nothing come here to bother me, My monthly payments or my this or my that, nothing. Empty, right? And if anything, and if I want to be with a woman, I want to be with her because she helps me to get out of my head and more into my feelings, more into my presence. And if she comes in and begins to talk, I'm going like, okay, I already have an overdose of that. So call your friend, tell her that. I'm really not that interested. I'm interested in how you're really feeling. That's all I'm interested in. So the feminine, the women need to really look into this. How are they giving these responses to the masculine? And I know this is as a bit of a daring thing to open up, but I've got nothing to lose and everything to gain in this, because this is where it's going. Without it, we're going to perish. Why is the world the way it is? Look, most of the presidents, most of the leaders are men. You should come and look at my kitchen. It's like, it's a mess, right? And no matter how much I clean it, it's never as good as when a woman does it here. And when you look at like the New Zealand Prime Minister, like every time I see her, I'm in tears. She's a politician, she's a woman, and she is incredible. Are you there, Barry?
Yeah.
Okay. She's an incredible. So we need this feminine reflection. We have now few women presidents out there, and those countries are they're getting tidied up. They're tidying up the mess that has been made for centuries. Centuries because the patriarchal power on earth is predominant. And we need the return of the feeling. We need the return of the mother god. Fuck the father. We had enough of that right now. We all have all this light everywhere, and nothing is looking good. We need the mother's reflection. We need this mother's light. And I stand strong behind this. This is like unshakable truth now. And we need this reflection. We need this more feeling and less thinking. We have an overdose and imbalance of thought. Men are stuck in their heads, and so are the women. And we need to learn how to return more into this feeling realm and begin to share through feelings, because there is a way to communicate through feelings that is basically has gone forgotten. And until we return and ignite this part of ourselves that only feels, and begin to actually use it practically, we're going to perish. That's for sure. Because the world is not looking too good. And
amen there, brother.
Amen there, brother, because it's a reflection. So, we need women to come back and just begin to ooze the feeling and ooze these reflections. So we men begin to get to feel what it's like for women, what it's really like for women to be around these heady dudes, particularly spiritually heady dudes with all the spiritual concepts coming out of their asses, but not really embodied in the full awakening, right? And they won't get this unless this is what I love about David Data. This is one thing I'll share. So he will be talking to a guy, and he says, yeah, well, I had these awakenings, and I had this, and I had that, and then he just talking there, and then Data never really kind of questions him about it. He goes, ladies, would you give us a sound what this man actually feels like? And the woman go, and right there's like a radical awakening when 20 or 30 or 40 women give you exactly the same tone of adoration. Could be fully, if the man is really there, women will go, oh, thank God. He will get that. But if he's not there, he will get it. And you can't fool the feminine, particularly when it's 20 or 30 of them, and they suddenly give you exactly the same tone, all of them. So, this is where, when I talk about masculine presence, the awakener of the masculine presence is the feminine. And the feminine is feeling. And feelings don't think. Feelings feel. And when they actually are given and put in their right place, they ooze and they inform beyond what mind can ever comprehend. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you. We had some good. We had some good insights tonight, and we have no more questions. Like a little reminder again, if you have any questions, streetsmartpodcast@gmail.com. If you don't have any questions, that's cool too. We'll just keep prattling on. And
thank you for the comments. Write the comments. Tell us how it feels. Wake us up. We're here to wake up. I will take any reflection. Just give it to me, whatever it takes. Because I want to wake up. I just don't want to just think that I've got something here. It's like, let's get real about this. How is it really?
Yeah, just remember.
I don't mind.
Just remember, once you start Cole, you're going to have a bitch of a time trying to stop him.
I don't mind. This is where it needs to go. It does. We need all of that because you see, you know what it is? It's all backed up. So when you open it up, it's not going to look too good. I don't mind. Let's see the ugly. Let's see the reflections, because you know what? All we're going to see, all us men are going to see what we have placed into the feminine. Because feminine is like an unconditional acceptance. It accepts whatever comes at it and embraces it somehow in trust. And often it's mistaken. And then it holds it. The feelings are absolutely exquisite. But what they hold is not exquisite. So we got to remember that which is being held needs a release. So the golden pond can be seen again. The golden mirror can be reflecting again. And then the golden lava can begin to flow. And without that, we got nothing. We're poor. We're poor in soul.
Yeah, and I'm really proud about the family we've got here on this channel. I mean, we're almost 85,000 strong. I've seen other channels that just, negative comments left and right, and it actually feels like we've got a family here.
Beautiful.
The comments are constructive. They're beautiful, and there's so few negative comments. I mean, it's just people have been staying with us for so long. They know what the content is. They know which direction we're going. So, I want to thank everybody that's been following us for this long, and even before this podcast, there's been people I know that have been following us for at least 6-7 years. So, thank you to the family for all your heartfelt good wishes and everything like that. So thank you.
Thank you too, Barry.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you for holding this. You're holding an amazing space. Your voice is, you're born to do this. Like this, if there's a gift being given, gift being given, you sure doing it. Like you sure doing your mission in life. And, I think the gratitude that we all hold, and, I listen to you every day. And then I get this bonus material to catch up with you on Friday. That's the only reason I do the podcast, and we have a really good yak together.
Yeah. I would have never thought in a million years that, I would have hooked up with a hippie in Byron Bay, Australia for a podcast. I'm just giving you shit. He's not a hippie, but literally we're on opposite ends of the world here. And that's one of the great things about the internet. I mean, I've met so many beautiful people through the internet and through this channel and stuff like that. It's unbelievable. I mean, you can make it whatever you want it to be. It can be dark, it can be a dark web, it can be negative, or it can be beautiful. And that's what I choose to see. And that's the vibration that we present to people, and that's what becomes drawn to us. So, thank you, everybody. Thank Cole for taking the time out of his busy schedule. He does men's groups. He does private sessions on Zoom. I mean, the guy's just too popular for his own good, and he beats off the ladies with a stick. So I'm just hanging around with him, hopefully to get a lady every now and then. So.
Oh man!
Thank you, Cole from Australia, and hopefully we'll be back next week. And blessings to everybody, blessings to Cole, my brother, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Barry.
Say good night, my friend.
Good night, good morning, or good afternoon, or whatever. Depends what dimension you're in.
Good night, everybody.
Okay. you